Hello and welcome to our Hangout on Air. I'm Mary Beth at the Law of Attraction Club, on the web at theloaclub.com. This is also an open call. You can join us after the Hangout on Air if you're listening live by coming to our open call member line, 712-432-0075, and the PIN is 101830. So if you want to join us after the Hangout on Air, dial in at that number. These Hangouts on Air are a collaboration with our friends Tara. The Hangouts are also a summary of our theme for the week, and they continue with Q&A on our member conference call or today on our open conference call line. You can get invites to our open calls, which we offer about once a month, and our free letting go process by going to the loaclub.com. Today we have Rachel with us and Robin, who will be bringing through Tara, and we welcome them all. So over to you, Robin and Rachel and Tara.
Welcome to this Law of Attraction discussion, this meeting at one of these points where your world and our world intersect. This week's subject is, where's my stuff, and the journey from would-be to will-be to is. This one was thinking, that sounds a lot like the title to a Harry Potter book. And we like that idea because it leads us to talk of fact and fiction. If we asked you how you would describe one of those books, you would say perhaps it's a fanciful work of fiction. Most of you found these books fun to read because they allow you to escape from the real world and lose yourself in a magical adventure where Harry and his friends are going to triumph over Voldemort and his followers. So let's look at those fun ingredients. It's an adventure which has excitement and suspense. Good and bad things can happen, but you have magical powers. And, note these words, you just know that you will triumph over adversity. By contrast, the real world is much less fun, because similarly, and here are those words again, you just know that there are no magic wands, that life is sometimes tedious, sometimes a struggle, and that outcomes are considerably less certain. Can you see that what it is that you just know determines whether you find an experience to be exciting and joyful, or tedious, or fearful? Now here's a wild idea. What if everything you just know is a choice? What if instead of learning as you grew up how the real world is and how to deal with it as it is, the real world, and every other world for that matter, grew up around you because of the belief choices you were making? Think about that, because that's the truth of it. What if the world of Harry Potter and Hogwarts School of Wizardry is just as real as that so-called real world you're experiencing? Well, it is. And that's because both of them are equally unreal. Both exist as a figment of your imagination. And if there's a difference, it's because of what you just know to be true about them. And that's a choice. You decide everything. You create everything. You can't change the essential nature of who you are and your connection with all that is, but everything else is up for grabs. When you decide what you want and bring your superconscious into alignment, manifestation simply happens. but it's the alignment that's key. And when you discover the power that you have, guess what? That real world of yours becomes once more an adventure with excitement and suspense. Wanted and unwanted things can happen, but you have magical powers. And note these words, you just know that you will triumph. If you look beyond this simple absolute truth about you and the world you're creating, you'll see that you've adopted many of your ideas as just the way things are. They seem to be permanent fixtures in your story, when they're really just a part of what you're making up. You invented them. Of course, there's nothing wrong or bad about any of them. It's just that choosing to see things from the perspective of who you really are makes it easier to step fully into that place of peace and power and fun and freedom. And taking that step is what it's all about. Let's look at some examples of what those fixtures could be. There's some obvious space-time worldly assumptions like, with age comes physical deterioration. We spoke of that last week. Or, because yesterday I set that train of events into motion, this is now going to happen. Or even, tomorrow the sun will rise in the east as always. But there's also perhaps some non-physical fixtures, like there's a lag time between choosing something new and the manifestation of it. Or somebody or something outside of me created me and has a purpose for my life. Let's take a look at these last two as a way of understanding all of the choices you can make. Let's start with who you is. By you, we mean the conscious thinking you that's intersecting with us here on this call. Yes, of course, there are other aspects to you. There's a super consciousness that includes your higher self. It holds the blueprint for your world, the map of your previously chosen beliefs and expectations. And all of that is linked inseparably to everything else in the universe and back to all that is. But there's nothing in all of those aspects that makes decisions for you or about you. Those are like resources you have available to you. By choice, you can expand that you consciousness at any time. But whatever its shape, that thinking you is always calling the shots and making the decisions. As you make a new decision, you experience a version of you and a new version of your context. We have a context. It's nothing like yours, but like you. We and our realm are an inseparable oneness. Your context is everything you experience, the physicalness that's you and your world, and the non-physical aspects you have chosen to be a part of that experience. If you're experiencing something, whatever that something is, you're making it up. So is there, for example, such a thing as manifestational lag? Here's some words from our friends Abraham. What you think and how you feel and what manifests is always a vibrational match. But here's the big kicker. What manifests isn't manifesting instantaneously. Manifestation is never right where the powerful leading edge energy is. Manifestation always lags behind. Like most humans, you're focused on what is. We playfully tell you, you have what-is-itis, because if it's chronic in your vibration, It holds you back from who you are. Without meaning to, as you move through time, your beliefs are usually not keeping up with your desires. In fact, for most humans, not even close. By law of attraction, you attract into your experience, moment by moment, unique to you, wanted or unwanted, the sum of your beliefs and expectations. When you woke up this morning, the bed, the floor, the walls, time, gravity, and the whole shooting match were there instantly, without focus, energy, or attention, because, and only because, you knew they would be. You knew it at the superconscious level. It's a part of that blueprint. And although you probably didn't think about it at all on a conscious level, if you did, there would be no disagreement. Such is the absolute power of you being aligned with your superconscious. Manifestation is immediate. Of course, Abraham, I'm not really saying there's some inbuilt fundamental mechanism in the law of attraction that sets a timer before each new desire can manifest. What they further say is that you have to line up with your new desire. That's what we're calling alignment. If there's a mismatch between you and your superconscious, it takes a little focus and perhaps a little time to bring that superconscious of yours to the party. It's that blueprint that creates, and we would add, it's a moment-by-moment, instantaneous creation. As soon as alignment occurs, you and your world change. Now, all that said, here's our kicker. If you choose to believe that there's a manifestation lag, then your world will conform to that, and there's nothing wrong with that choice. We just want you to see past the seeming absoluteness of that statement, manifestation always lags behind, to the truth of the power that you really have. The only lag that can possibly exist is caused by the fact that you haven't chosen to truly expect what you desire. If you and your superconsciousness are at odds, it may take a little time before you can practice yourself into alignment. But that, like everything else, is a choice. Let's look at that other fixture some of you have. That somebody or something outside of you created you and has a purpose for your life, was looking out for you and protecting you, or is arranging things in your world in line with some grand plan, often expressed as everything happens for a reason. We say that there is nothing and nobody but you making the decisions, all the decisions. Of relevance here are some words from our friend Mike Dooley, the universe. What's most important is that you're here. A million times less important is what you do here, when, where, and with whom. Be here now. Figuring out why you're here is also not nearly as important as just honoring that it was a phenomenally good idea. Indeed. And we would go a little beyond that and say, you are here because you chose to be in this focused space-time world for the joy of creating in this context. What you choose to create is now yours to decide. And now. And now. If you decide one thing today, there's nothing to prevent you choosing something else tomorrow. Everything is up to you. Once again, having said that, here's our kicker. If you choose to believe any of these things, your world will conform. If you choose, for example, to believe that there's a particular purpose for your life, and if you can just discover it, you will then be aligned with the grand plan, and life will be easier, more fulfilling, more joyful, more aligned with God, just plain better in every way. Then if you find that purpose that feels right, and you truly believe without reservation that this is your particular path, then it will be, and you will step into that better life you're seeking. If you choose to believe in a guardian angel, then that choice will create a guardian angel, and it will be as real as you are. Such is your power. Each chosen belief, you see, comes with its own life support system, because you and your context was always match that belief. If for you, that chosen belief is a fun way to play your game of life on earth, then we say, play on. Because once again, there's nothing wrong with that choice or any of the other choices you've made. It's just that sometimes we see you trapped by one or more of those fixtures of yours, and your life is nothing like the glorious adventure you came here to experience. Then we say, it's time to revisit those fixtures and change the ones that are now getting in the way. So, as always, the question is, what do you want now? Think about one thing you want. Pick one that perhaps you've given up on. And let's go on the journey from would be to will be to is. So get quiet for a moment here. Close your eyes and let's play make-believe. Imagine your world if that one thing could be. At this point, you don't have to challenge whether it's possible or not. Just think about what it would be like if. Get immersed for a while here in that imagined world. Feel it. Just like reading that Harry Potter book. Allow yourself to feel the joy of it without having to know how it could possibly be. See it in your mind. Good. Next, we want you to indulge yourself a little here. We want you to allow the idea that maybe this particular thing could be possible. Without getting into how is not your job. Without getting into how, just let yourself shift into will be mode. Imagine the world when that thing will be. It's the same world as the would-be world, but now there's starting to be a sense of anticipation to it. It's starting to become magically possible. Feel it. Good. Now I want you to step through that door in your mind and slip into that world. Be in it now. Feel what it's like to be there. It is. Feel what Lester Levinson called the isness of it. Put your arms out and dance around in that vibrant and joyful place. Good. So there's never a bad time to ask, what do I want now? And then go on the journey from would be to will be to is. And each time you do that, every time you do that, you loosen your grip on the old story that it's not possible. You practice that old story long enough. It's time to practice the new story, because anything is possible that you choose to believe in. It's time to get your ducks in a line with this one. It's time to get into alignment at all levels within you. How do we know you can do it? Because that's exactly how you lined up around the old story. Same process, new story. The place to be is in eager anticipation. And if you find yourself dropping out of that with, where's my stuff? It's just not happening. Know it and make a new choice. By know it, we mean don't kid yourself. If doubts are creeping in, stop. That simply means there's a little more practice required. Let us repeat that. It doesn't mean you can't get there. It simply means there's a little more practice required with the new story. Allow yourself to believe in yourself. Allow yourself to know who you are. As you go more and more on the imagined journey from would be to will be to is, so it is you step into that version of so-called reality. By practicing that wholly imagined world, you create a matching physical world. So that highly elaborate and detailed blueprint of your expectations is the key to everything. It's your story unique to you. You created it by your choices. Mostly you've forgotten what those choices were and when and how you made them. But here's the important part. It doesn't matter, because none of it can remain a part of your story if you're determined to change it. You created it all, and you can revisit any of it, and you can change any of it, because you decide everything. From today's Abraham quote, tell it like it is if you like it like it is. But if you don't like it like it is, then don't tell it like it is. Tell it like you want it to be. If you tell it like you want it to be long enough, you will begin to feel like you want it to be. And when you feel like you want it to be, it bees like you want it to be. So, are you beginning to get it that you can change everything? You can't change the essential nature of who you are and your connection to all that is, but everything else is up for grabs. It's all about deciding what you want and then focusing on bringing that super consciousness of yours into alignment with it. Of course, there's a ton of processes that can help, but the journey will be easier if you will just start with recognizing and acknowledging what sits beneath it all. Let's do a little expansion on that right now and see if we can step together into that place of peace and power and fun and freedom.
This Hangout on Air was the summary of our theme for the week. We do 3 live calls a week with questions and answers for our members on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. You can become a member by going to the loaclub.com/join. Our longer discussion continues now with Q&A, and this is an open call. So if you were on the Hangout on Air and you want to join us on the extended call and ask some questions or just listen some more, come to our open call, and the number is 712-432-0075. The PIN is 101830. And